At certain times, if people are uneducated to how that works, if you're paying somebody minimum wage to go out there and say, you know, you just make sure that we get enough methane through the torch to keep the flare system running, and they notice that their methane levels are going down because that's the number one gas that fires those sticks at night, or during the day, actually, you see them at night. They've done that. They've actually done that 3 different times in the last year that we have met at meetings, saw the oxygen levels in these gas extraction wells were above 6%. Actually, the ideal range is 0 to about 4%. We were seeing gas extraction wells that had 8, 9, 2 and 3 times what they should be. And when you did that, you correlate that oxygen level with the rest of the data that shows what the temperatures are, they always coincide with high oxygen levels and high temperatures. The problem is, in this event, it had enough fuel there, enough energy. Once that oxygen happened, it continued to smolder, and now it's taking up the whole landfill. If you look at the pictures, and I haven't seen what she has, but I have been out on that site in the past 3 years, that landfill looks completely different geologically today than what it did 3 years ago. It has sunk, it's had many earthquakes, it's shifted. There's different pipes in there that are stainless steel cased pipes that are to the point that that landfill has shifted so much that they're crimped off and they can no longer get any leachate out of those. I mean, there is a lot of force going on down there. It's something that cannot be played with, and it's very serious to us because if it is not controlled, and we've never said extinguished because I don't believe, after talking with the landfill fire expert, it's something that can be extinguished. But we have to do everything we can, I feel, regardless of what the cost is, to contain it. And if they don't want to contain it, then and that's the direction we've been going, is we're not seeing any progress of a meeting or agreement of this is how we're going to do it. Put in the wall and cap it. Then let's go back and fight about how we're going to contain it. But the only safeguard for this community is to put in a fire hydrant.
Yeah, and so Matt just said something that we didn't mention for the new folks that I take for granted now, is that landfill fires burn much like a coal mine fire, and that once it's out of fuel, that's when it's finished burning. That's one significant reason we don't want it to go into the North Quarry, besides the fact that there's radioactive waste just beyond that, is that one landfill fire is already bad enough. We don't need 2 burning for 5, 10, 15 years. And then beyond that, you have to worry about the cap that they just put on because the South Quarry is on fire. Well, you know, just like any fire, you have a void where that fire was smoldering. That's going to continue to happen at this landfill, and once that happens, that cap is snugly tugged across that mountain out there. And when it'll start to collapse in on itself, and when it happens, you might have some degradation of the cap on the South Quarry to the point where it's going to have to be reinstalled, and we'll have to go through this again in the future. Just the South Quarry part.
And more worrisome for me as a fire chief here in this community is my first responder. If this thing goes off or if we get called on there, basically it's like this now. And if it does collapse more, it's like this. And once it gets to the same height or just depth below as what it was high, it now becomes a trampoline. That settlement could go all the way down depending on how hot this fire is, and there's indication that it's going to continue to burn. We don't think that there's any reason why it's not going to keep going until it runs out of fuel. That quarry is almost 300 feet deep. I guarantee you it's not 300 feet high at its highest point. So you're going to end up with basically a winter swimming pool with a cover over that just sits there, and you know it's a bad deal for everybody in this community, not just the people that live here, but the people that are going to be called to come out and correct the problems when they have them. So.
The